Amy Collins sat in her small bedroom with her violin on her lap. The afternoon sun came through her window and made bright spots on the old wooden floor. She had been practicing the same song for 2 hours, but something felt wrong. The notes were right, but the music felt empty. Her phone buzzed on the desk. Amy picked it up and saw a message from her friend Jake Thompson. He had sent her a link to a video with a note that said, "You have to see this violin cover. It's amazing." Amy clicked on the link and waited for the video to load. The screen showed a busy street corner in what looked like downtown. People were walking by, talking and laughing. In the middle of all this noise stood a young woman with a violin. The woman looked to be in her early 20s. She had long black hair and wore a simple blue dress. She stood very still, like she was waiting for something. She lifted her violin and began to play. Amy had heard the song Waterloo many times before. It was an old pop song by a group called ABBA. Her mother used to sing it while cleaning the house. It was supposed to be a happy song about falling in love, but this version was different. The violin sang the melody in a way Amy had never heard before. Each note seemed to carry weight, like it was telling a story of its own. The woman played with her eyes closed, and her face showed deep emotion. Sometimes she looked sad, sometimes peaceful, but always completely focused on the music. Amy watched as people on the street began to stop. A man in a business suit put down his briefcase and listened. A woman with a baby stroller paused and rocked her child gently to the music. Even the kids, who had been running around, became quiet and still. The violin version of Waterloo was nothing like the original song, where the pop version was bright and energetic. This version was slow and thoughtful. It made Amy think of rain on windows, of saying goodbye to someone you love, of being alone in a big city. When the song ended, the woman opened her eyes. She looked around at the small crowd that had gathered. People clapped and threw money into her violin case. But she seemed surprised by all the attention. She packed up her violin quickly and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Amy played the video again and then again. Each time she watched, she noticed something new. The way the woman held her bow, the slight tremor in her left hand during the saddest parts, the single tear that rolled down her cheek near the end of the song. "This is incredible," Amy said out loud to her empty room. She had been playing violin for 8 years, since she was 10 years old. She thought she understood music, but this performance showed her something she had never seen before. Amy tried to play along with the video. She listened carefully to every note and tried to copy the woman's style. But when she played the same notes, they sounded flat and ordinary. There was something missing, something she could not figure out. Her mother called from downstairs. "Amy, dinner is ready. 5 more minutes, Mom," Amy called back. She played the video one more time, this time watching the woman's face instead of her hands. There was something in her expression that went beyond just playing music. It looked like she was having a conversation with someone who was not there. Amy's bedroom door opened and her mother, Carol Collins, looked in. "Honey, you've been up here for hours? What are you watching?" "Mom, look at this," Amy said, showing her the phone. "This woman is playing Waterloo on violin, but it sounds completely different from the original song." Carol sat on the bed next to Amy and watched the video. When it ended, she was quiet for a moment. "That was beautiful," she said finally, but also very sad. "I wonder what her story is." "That's exactly what I was thinking," Amy said. "There's something about the way she plays. It's like she's not just playing the song, she's living it." Carol looked at her daughter with interest. "You know, your father's old music teacher used to say that the best musicians don't just play notes, they tell stories. Maybe this woman has a story to tell." After dinner, Amy went back to her room and watched the video several more times. She started taking notes about the way the woman played. The tempo was slower than the original song. The woman used a lot of vibrato, which made the notes sound like they were shaking with emotion. She also added small pauses between phrases, like she was taking breaths between words. Amy tried to play the song again, using the techniques she had observed. This time it sounded better, but still not like the video. She was missing something important, but she could not figure out what it was. Late that night, Amy lay in bed thinking about the performance. She wondered who the woman was and why she had chosen to play that particular song. She wondered if the woman was a professional musician or just someone who loved to play. Most of all, she wondered how music could sound so different when it came from the heart instead of just the fingers. Next morning, Amy woke up with the melody still in her head. She got dressed quickly and went downstairs to find her mother making breakfast. "Mom, I want to learn how to play like the woman in the video," Amy said. Carol looked up from the stove. "What do you mean?" "I mean really play, not just get the notes right. I want to make music that means something to people." Carol smiled at her daughter. "That sounds like a wonderful goal, Amy, but I think it might take more than just practice." "What do you mean?" "I think you might need to understand the story behind the music. Maybe you should talk to Mr. Martinez about it. He's been teaching music for a long time. He might know how to help you." Amy nodded. Mr. Greg Martinez had been her violin teacher for 3 years. He was a patient man who always encouraged his students to find their own voice in music. If anyone could help her understand what she had seen in the video, it would be him. As Amy ate her breakfast, she made a plan. She would show the video to Mr. Martinez at her lesson that afternoon. Maybe he could help her understand what made this performance so special. Maybe he could teach her how to put real emotion into her music. Amy did not know it yet. But this video would change everything about how she thought about music and about herself. Amy walked into Mr. Martinez's music studio that afternoon with her violin case in one hand and her phone in the other. The small room smelled like old wood and rosin. Sheet music covered every surface, and 2 large windows let in the golden afternoon light. "Good afternoon, Amy," Mr. Martinez said with a warm smile. He was a man in his 50s with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "You look excited about something today?" "Mr. Martinez, I found this video online and I really need to show it to you," Amy said, pulling out her phone. "It's a violin performance that's completely different from anything I've ever heard." Mr. Martinez set down his coffee cup and adjusted his glasses. "Well, let's take a look." Amy played the video of the woman performing Waterloo on the street corner. Mr. Martinez watched carefully, his expression growing more interested as the performance continued. When the video ended, he was quiet for a long moment. "Play it again, please," he said softly. Amy played the video a second time. This time, Mr. Martinez leaned forward and watched even more closely. He paid attention to the woman's hand positions, her bow technique, and most importantly, her facial expressions. "Remarkable," he said when the video finished. "This is extraordinary playing. Do you know who she is?" Amy asked hopefully. Mr. Martinez rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "I don't know her personally, but I recognize the style. This reminds me of a street performer I used to see downtown about 5 or 6 years ago. She had a very similar way of transforming popular songs into something much deeper." Amy's heart jumped with excitement. "Really? You've seen someone play like this before?" "Yes, but not recently. There was a young woman who used to perform on the corner of 5th and Main Street. She would take songs that everyone knew and make them sound completely new. People would stop their cars just to listen to her play." "What happened to her?" Amy asked. Mr. Martinez shook his head. "I'm not sure. One day she just stopped coming. I always wondered what her story was. She played with such emotion, like she was working through something very personal." Amy felt a surge of determination. "Mr. Martinez, I want to find her. I want to learn how to play like that." "Amy, that's a wonderful goal. But you should understand something important. The emotion you hear in that performance comes from life experience. You can't just copy technique and expect to sound the same way." "Kano," Amy said. "But I still want to try to find her. Maybe she could teach me something." Mr. Martinez looked at Amy with concern and pride. "If you're serious about this, you'll need to do some detective work. The downtown music scene is like a small community. People know each other, and they remember the talented ones." "Where should I start?" Amy asked. "There are several music stores downtown that have been around for decades. The owners know all the local musicians. You could also check with some of the coffee shops and venues where street performers often play. Someone might remember her." Amy nodded eagerly. "Would you come with me?" Mr. Martinez smiled. "I think this is something you need to do yourself, Amy, but I'll give you some advice. When you talk to people, be respectful. Remember that this woman might have stopped performing for personal reasons. If you do find her, Don't pressure her to teach you or perform again. The next day was Saturday, and Amy asked her best friend Jake Thompson to come with her downtown. Jake was 16, the same age as Amy, and they had known each other since elementary school. He played guitar and understood Amy's passion for music. "So we're looking for a mystery violin player?" Jake asked as they got off the bus downtown. "Exactly," Amy said. "Mr. Martinez thinks she used to perform regularly around here." They started their search at a small music store called Harmony Music. The store was narrow and cramped with guitars hanging from the ceiling and drums stacked in the corners. Behind the counter sat a man with a long gray beard and several tattoos on his arms. "Excuse me," Amy said politely. "I'm looking for information about a street performer who used to play violin around here." The man looked up from the guitar. He was restringing. "When was this? Maybe 5 or 6 years ago? She used to play on 5th and Main Street." The man thought for a moment. "Can you describe her?" Amy pulled out her phone and showed him the video. The man watched it carefully, then nodded. "I remember her," he said. "She came in here a few times to buy strings. Nice girl, very quiet. Haven't seen her in years, though." "Do you know her name?" Jake asked. "Sorry, kid. She always paid cash and kept to herself." Amy and Jake thanked the man and continued their search. They visited 3 more music stores, but no one had any new information. Everyone remembered the performer, but no one knew her name or what had happened to her as they walked down Main Street. They passed several coffee shops and small restaurants. Amy decided to ask at each one if anyone remembered the violin player. At a coffee shop called the Daily Grind, they met a waitress named Betty who had worked there for 10 years. "Oh, I definitely remember her," Betty said when Amy showed her the video. "She used to perform right outside our window. Customers would sit by the window just to listen to her play. She was amazing." "Do you know anything about her?" Amy asked. "Yeah, well, she usually came on weekends, always in the afternoon. Sometimes she looked really sad, but her music was beautiful. I remember one time she played for almost 3 hours straight. People kept putting money in her case, but she seemed more interested in the music than the money." "Did she ever come inside the coffee shop?" Jake asked. Betty nodded. "A few times. Would order just a black coffee and sit in the corner booth by herself. She always brought a notebook and would write in it between sets." This was the most information Amy had gotten all day. "Do you remember anything else about her?" "Actually, yes," Betty said, lowering her voice. "One day an older woman came in asking about her. The older woman seemed worried. She said she was trying to help the performer through a difficult time. I got the feeling that something sad had happened in the performer's life." Amy's heart raced. "Do you remember anything about the older woman? She ran a music store, I think, somewhere on the other side of downtown. She had silver hair and was very kind. She left her business card, but that was years ago." Amy thanked Betty and left the coffee shop feeling more hopeful than she had all day. As she and Jake walked down the street, Amy felt like she was getting closer to solving the mystery. "We need to find that music store," Amy told Jake. "Older woman might be the key to finding our violin player." Jake grinned. "This is like being detectives, but for music." Amy smiled back. She was determined to continue her search. Somewhere in this city was the woman who had played Waterloo. With such emotion, and Amy was going to find her. Amy and Jake spent the rest of Saturday afternoon walking through the older part of downtown, looking for music stores they had not visited yet. The sun was getting lower in the sky, and Amy was starting to feel tired, but she did not want to give up. "There's one more store down this street," Jake said, pointing to a small sign that read Davis Music since 1972. The store was tucked between a used bookstore and a small restaurant. The windows were filled with old instruments, and sheet music was taped to the glass. Amy could see an elderly woman inside, organizing something behind the counter. "This looks promising," Amy said as they pushed open the door. A small bell rang. As they entered, and the woman looked up with a friendly smile. She had silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and wore a colorful sweater. Her eyes were bright and kind. "Good afternoon, young people. I'm Helen Davis. Can I help you find something?" Amy felt hopeful as soon as she saw Mrs. Davis. This woman matched the description Betty had given them at the coffee shop. "Mrs. Davis, we're looking for information about a street performer who used to play violin downtown," Amy said. "Someone at the Daily Grind said you might know about her." Mrs. Davis's expression changed immediately. She looked surprised and a little sad. Are you talking about Lisa? Amy's heart jumped. Lisa? Is that her name? Lisa Wong, Mrs. Davis said. Softly, she was a remarkable young woman. Please, sit down. She gestured to 2 chairs near the counter. Amy and Jake sat down quickly, both excited to finally get some real information. Lisa used to come to my store regularly, Mrs. Davis began. She was one of the most talented musicians I've ever met. She could take any song and make it sound like it was written just for her. What happened to her? Amy asked. Why did she stop performing? Mrs. Davis was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the street where people were walking by. Lisa went through a very difficult time. She lost someone very important to her. What do you mean? Jake asked gently. Lisa had a younger brother named Peter, Mrs. Davis explained. He was her best friend and biggest supporter. He would come to all her street performances and help her carry her equipment. Peter was studying to be a music teacher, and he and Lisa dreamed of opening a music school together someday. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. She sensed that this story was going to be sad. About 6 years ago, Peter was driving home from his college classes when a drunk driver ran a red light and hit his car, Mrs. Davis continued. Peter died. Instantly, Lisa was completely devastated. Amy felt tears form in her eyes. That's terrible, Lisa blamed herself, Mrs. Davis said. She thought that if she had picked Peter up from school that day like she sometimes did, the accident wouldn't have happened. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and almost stopped playing music completely. But she did keep playing, Jake said. We saw the video of her performing. Mrs. Davis nodded. After about 6 months, Lisa started performing on the street again. But it was different. She wasn't playing for fun or money anymore. She was playing to work through her grief. Every song became a way for her to say goodbye to Peter. Amy thought about the video she had watched so many times. Now she understood why the performance had seemed so emotional and personal. The performance we saw, Amy said slowly, was that her way of saying goodbye? I believe so, Mrs. Davis said. Lisa told me once that Waterloo was Peter's favorite song. He used to sing it while he helped her set up her equipment. She said that playing it on the street was like having one. Last conversation with him. Amy wiped away a tear. Where is Lisa now? Mrs. Davis smiled a little. She's doing much better after that final street performance. Lisa decided to use her music to help other people who were going through difficult times. She went back to school and became a music therapist. A music therapist? Jake asked. She works at St. Mary's Hospital, Mrs. Davis explained. She uses her violin to help patients deal with pain, fear, and sadness. She told me that losing Peter taught her that music has the power to heal, not just entertain. Me felt a mix of sadness and hope. Do you think she would be willing to meet with us? Mrs. Davis looked at Amy carefully. Why do you want to meet her, dear? Amy thought about her answer. I've been playing violin for 8 years, but I've never made music that means something to people. When I watched Lisa's performance, I realized that I want to learn how to play with real emotion, not just technical skill. And you think Lisa can teach you that? I don't know, Amy said honestly. But I want to try to understand what makes her music so special. Mrs. Davis was quiet for a long moment. Lisa is very private about her past. She doesn't like to talk about Peter or about her street performing days. But I can tell you where she works. Whether or not she agrees to meet with you is up to her. Mrs. Davis wrote down the hospital's address on a piece of paper and handed it to Amy. If you do meet her, please be respectful of her privacy. Don't push her to talk about things she doesn't want to discuss. Amy took the paper carefully. I promise. There's one more thing you should know, Mrs. Davis said. Lisa doesn't perform in public anymore. She's never gotten over her stage fright after Peter died. She only plays for her patients now. As Amy and Jake left the music store, Amy felt like she finally understood the mystery of the violin performance. Lisa had not been playing for the people on the street that day. She had been playing for her brother, using music to express feelings that were too deep for words. The next morning, Amy called the hospital and asked to speak with Lisa Wong. The receptionist told her that Lisa was working that day but would be busy with patients until late afternoon. Can I leave a message for her? Amy asked. Of course. Amy thought carefully about what to say. Please tell her that a young violin student would like to meet her to learn about music therapy. My name is Amy Collins, and I can be reached at this number. After she hung up the phone, Amy sat in her room and practiced violin. But now, instead of just playing the notes correctly, she tried to put feeling into the music. She thought about the sadness Lisa must have felt when she lost her brother, and she tried to express that emotion through her violin. For the first time in her life, Amy's music sounded like it meant something. It was not perfect, but it was real, and that was a beginning. Amy's phone rang 3 days later while she was eating breakfast. She did not recognize the number, but she answered anyway. "Hello, is this Amy Collins?" a soft voice asked. "Yes, this is Amy. This is Lisa Wong from St. Mary's Hospital. I got your message about wanting to learn about music therapy." Amy's heart started beating fast. "Yes, thank you so much for calling me back. I have a break between patients this afternoon at 3 o'clock. If you would like to meet, I could spare about 30 minutes. That would be perfect," Amy said. "Quickly, should I come to the hospital?" "Yes." "Come to the main entrance and ask for me at the information desk. I'll meet you in the lobby." After Lisa hung up, Amy sat staring at her phone. She could not believe she was actually going to meet the woman from the video. She spent the rest of the morning practicing violin and thinking about what she would say. At 2:45 that afternoon, Amy walked through the main entrance of St. Mary's Hospital. The lobby was busy with visitors, doctors, and nurses walking in different directions. Amy went to the information desk and told the woman there that she was meeting Lisa Wong. "She'll be right down," the woman said with a smile. Amy sat in a chair near the elevators and waited. She felt nervous and excited at the same time. A few minutes later, the elevator doors opened and a woman stepped out. Amy recognized her immediately. Even though she looked different from the video, Lisa was wearing light blue scrubs and had her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked older than she had in the street performance, but her eyes were the same. She carried a small violin case in her hand. "Amy," Lisa asked, walking over. "That's me." Amy stood up and shook Lisa's hand. "Let's go to the cafeteria where we can talk quietly," Lisa said. They walked down a long hallway to a small cafeteria. Lisa bought 2 cups of coffee, and they sat at a table by the window. Amy noticed that Lisa seemed nervous too. "So you're interested in music therapy?" Lisa asked. Amy took a deep breath. "Actually, I need to be honest with you. I saw a video of you performing Waterloo on the street, and it changed how I think about music." Lisa's face went pale. She set down her coffee cup and looked away. "I see. How did you find me?" "I visited music stores downtown asking about you, Mrs. Davis. At Davis Music told me you work here now." Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "I don't like to talk about those days." "I'm sorry," Amy said quickly. "I don't want to make you uncomfortable. It's just that your performance was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. I've been playing violin for 8 years, but I've never made music that moves people the way yours did." Lisa looked back at Amy with surprise. "You play violin?" "Yes, I'm 16, and I've been taking lessons since I was 8. But when I heard you play, I realized that I don't really understand music at all. I can play the notes correctly, but I can't make people feel anything." Lisa studied Amy's face. "What did you feel when you heard me play?" Amy thought carefully. "Sadness, but also hope. Like you were telling a story about losing something important but learning to accept it. The music felt real in a way that most music doesn't." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "Mrs. Davis told you about Peter, didn't she?" "Yes, I'm so sorry about your brother." Lisa wiped her eyes with a napkin. "That performance you saw was the last time I played in public. I was saying goodbye to Peter and to the dreams we had shared. Mrs. Davis said that Waterloo was Peter's favorite song." Lisa smiled sadly. "He used to sing it while he helped me set up my equipment. He had a terrible singing voice, but he loved that song. When I played it that day on the street, I could almost hear him singing along." Amy felt tears in her own eyes. "That's why it sounded so emotional. You weren't just playing music. You were having a conversation with someone you loved." "Exactly," Lisa said. "After Peter died, I thought I would never play music again. But I realized that music was the only way I could still feel connected to him." A moment both thinking about the power of music to express feelings that words could not capture. "Can I ask you something?" Amy said. "Why did you become a music therapist?" Lisa's expression brightened a little. "After that final street performance, I realized that music had helped me work through my grief. I thought maybe I could use music to help other people who were going through difficult times." "Do you like the work?" "I love it," Lisa said. "Every day I see how music can help people heal. I work with children who are scared about surgery, elderly patients who feel lonely, and people who are dealing with chronic pain. Music gives them a way to express their feelings and find some peace." Amy leaned forward. "Would you be willing to teach me how to play with real emotion?" Lisa looked surprised. "Okay, Amy, I'm not sure I can teach you that. The emotion in my music came from my life experiences. You can't just learn to feel something you haven't lived through." "I know that," Amy said. "But maybe you could teach me how to be more honest in my music, how to put my own feelings into the songs I play, even if they're different from yours." Lisa was quiet for a moment, thinking, "What kind of feelings do you have when you play?" Amy thought about this question. "Sometimes I feel frustrated because I want to be better. Sometimes I feel happy when I finally get a difficult passage right. Sometimes I feel lonely because I spend so much time practicing by myself." "Those are real emotions," Lisa said. "Have you ever tried to put those feelings into your music?" "I don't know how." Lisa picked up her violin case. "Would you like me to show you something?" Amy nodded eagerly. Lisa took out her violin and bowed. Even in the busy hospital cafeteria, she held her instrument with great care and respect. "This is a simple melody," Lisa said, "but I'm going to play it 3 different ways. First, I'll play it the way most people do, just focusing on getting the notes right." Lisa played a short, sweet melody. It sounded nice, but it was just music. "Now I'll play the same melody, but I'll think about how I felt when I was frustrated." With my practicing, Lisa played the same notes, but this time they sounded tense and hurried. The music felt restless. "Now I'll play it one more time, thinking about the peace I feel when I help a patient feel better." This time, the melody sounded completely different. It was gentle and warm, like a hug made of music. Amy stared at Lisa in amazement. The notes were exactly the same, but each version told a different story. "That's the secret," Lisa said, putting her violin away. "The notes are just the beginning. The real music comes from what you're feeling inside." Amy felt like she had just learned the most important lesson of her life. "Would you be willing to work with me? To help me learn how to be more honest in my music?" Lisa looked at Amy for a long time. Finally, she smiled. "I'll make you a deal. If you promise to use what I teach you to help other people, not just to become a better performer, then yes, I'll teach you." Over the next 3 months, Amy met with Lisa every Saturday afternoon at the hospital. Lisa taught Amy things about music that she had never learned in her regular lessons. Most importantly, Lisa taught her that music was not just about perfect technique. It was about sharing honest feelings with other people. During their first few lessons, Lisa helped Amy understand her own emotions better. She asked Amy to think about different times in her life when she had felt strong feelings. Then try to express those feelings through her violin. "Remember when you were 8 years old and you got your first violin?" Lisa asked during one lesson. "How did that feel?" Amy closed her eyes and remembered. "I felt excited and scared at the same time. Excited because I was going to learn something new, but scared because I didn't know if I would be good at it. I'll play a simple scale, but think about those feelings while you play." Amy played a C major scale, thinking about that mix of excitement and fear. The notes sounded different than they ever had before. They had personality. "Perfect," Lisa said with a smile. "That's what I mean by honest music." As the weeks went by, Amy began to understand Lisa's arrangement of Waterloo. Lisa explained how she had changed the rhythm and melody to match her own story of loss and acceptance. "The original song is about losing in love," Lisa explained, "but my version is about losing someone you love and learning to keep living anyway. I slowed it down because grief doesn't move fast. I added those long, sad notes because sometimes sadness needs time to be felt completely." Amy practiced the arrangement every day. First, she could only copy Lisa's emotions. But slowly, she began to put her own feelings into the music. She thought about times when she had felt sad, times when she had to say goodbye to people. She cared about times when she had felt alone. One Saturday, Lisa brought Amy to meet some of her patients. They visited the children's ward where Lisa often played for young patients who were scared or in pain. "This is Amy," Lisa told a 7-year-old boy named Tommy who was getting treatment for a broken leg. "She's learning to play violin too." Tommy looked at Amy with interest. "Can you play something happy? I'm tired of being in this bed." Amy looked at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. Amy thought about times when she had felt happy and free. Played a simple folk song. But she put all her memories of sunny days and playing outside into the music. Tommy smiled for the first time since they had entered his room. "That made me feel like I was running around outside. That's exactly what I was thinking about when I played it," Amy told him. After they left Tommy's room, Lisa put her hand on Amy's shoulder. "You're starting to understand. Music can take people to different places, even when their bodies can't go there." As spring turned into summer, Amy's regular violin teacher, Mr. Martinez, noticed big changes in her playing. "Amy, your music has so much more feeling now," he said during one lesson. "What's been different?" Amy told him about her work with Lisa, and about learning to put real emotions into her music. "That's wonderful," Mr. Martinez said. "I think you're ready to perform for other people again." Amy had not performed in public for months. She had been too focused on learning Lisa's approach to music. But now she felt ready to share what she had learned. "There's a small concert at the community center next month," Mr. Martinez said. "Would you like to perform?" Amy thought about Lisa's condition for teaching her. Lisa had said Amy must use her music to help other people, not just to become a better performer. "Yes," Amy said. "But I want to do something special. I want to perform Lisa's arrangement of Waterloo and tell people the story behind it." Night of the concert, Amy stood backstage feeling nervous. She had never performed such a personal piece of music before. Lisa sat in the front row with Mrs. Davis from the music store. Jake and Amy's parents were there too, along with about 50 other people from the community. When Amy walked onto the stage, she took a deep breath and looked at the audience. "Before I play tonight," she said, "I want to tell you a story about music and healing." Amy told the audience about finding the video of Lisa's performance and about learning the story behind it. She explained how Lisa had used music to work through her grief and how she now used music to help other people heal. "The song I'm going to play is called Waterloo," Amy said. "But this version is different from the original. This version is about learning to accept loss and finding ways to keep loving someone even after they're gone." Amy began to play. She thought about Lisa's story, but she also thought about her own experiences with loss and sadness. She played for Tommy and the other patients she had met at the hospital. She played for anyone in the audience who had ever lost someone they loved. The music filled the small concert hall. People in the audience became very quiet and still. Some had tears in their eyes. Amy could see Lisa in the front row, crying but also smiling. When Amy finished playing, the audience was silent for a moment. Then they began to clap. Not the polite clapping that usually followed performances, but the kind of clapping that comes from the heart. After the concert, many people came up to Amy to thank her. An elderly woman said the music had reminded her of her late husband. A teenager said it had helped him think about his grandfather, who had died the year before. Most importantly, Lisa came up to Amy with tears in her eyes. "That was beautiful," Lisa said. "You didn't just play my arrangement, you made it your own." A few weeks later, Amy had an idea. She called Lisa and asked if they could meet at the hospital. "I want to organize a benefit concert," Amy told Lisa. "We could raise money for the music therapy program here at the hospital." Lisa looked surprised and pleased. "That's a wonderful idea, but it would be a lot of work." "I know, but I think music has the power to bring people together and help them. I want to share that with as many people as possible." Over the next 2 months, Amy worked with Lisa, Mrs. Davis, and Mr. Martinez to organize the benefit concert. They found other local musicians who wanted to participate, got the high school auditorium donated for the event. They sold tickets and put up posters around town. The night of the benefit concert, the auditorium was packed. Amy performed Lisa's arrangement of Waterloo again, but this time she was not alone. At the end of her performance, Lisa joined her on stage. "I haven't performed in public for 6 years," Lisa told the audience. "But Amy has shown me that music is meant to be shared." Together, Amy and Lisa played Waterloo as a duet. Amy played the melody, while Lisa played a harmony part. The music was even more beautiful, with both violins singing together. The concert raised enough money to buy new instruments for the music therapy program and to create a scholarship for young musicians who wanted to use their talents to help others. They named the scholarship the Peter Wong Memorial Fund, in honor of Lisa's brother. As Amy stood on stage at the end of the concert, looking out at the audience of people who had been moved by music, she realized that she had found her purpose. She was not just a violin player anymore. She was someone who used music to help people heal and connect with each other. And in the front row, Lisa was smiling and clapping, proud of the young musician she had helped to find her own voice. 1 year after the benefit concert, Amy had become a different person. She was 17 now and had started her senior year of high school. The success of the concert had changed her life in ways she never expected. Every week, Amy visited St. Mary's Hospital to volunteer with Lisa in the music therapy program. She had learned to work with patients of all ages, from tiny babies in the intensive care unit to elderly patients in the hospice ward. "Amy, could you play something soft for Mrs. Johnson?" Lisa asked one Tuesday afternoon. She's having trouble sleeping because of her pain medication. Amy nodded and walked into the room where an elderly woman was lying in bed, looking tired and uncomfortable. Amy sat in the chair next to the bed and began to play a gentle lullaby on her violin. As the music filled the room, Mrs. Johnson's face relaxed. Her breathing became slower and deeper. Within 10 minutes, she was sleeping peacefully. "Thank you, dear," Mrs. Johnson's daughter whispered to Amy. She hasn't slept well in days. Moments like this reminded Amy why she had chosen to use her music for healing. She had discovered that helping other people through music gave her more satisfaction than any perfect performance ever could. The Peter Wong Memorial Scholarship had grown larger each year. Amy helped review applications from young musicians who wanted to use their talents to help others. This year, they had received applications from all over the state. One application particularly touched Amy's heart. It came from a 15-year-old boy named Carlos Martinez, who had lost his father in a work accident. Carlos played guitar and wanted to use music to help other kids who had experienced loss. "This reminds me of why we started the scholarship," Amy told Lisa as they read Carlos's application together. "It sounds like he has the same passion you had when you first found my video," Lisa said with a smile. Amy had also started teaching violin lessons to younger students. But unlike traditional music teachers, Amy focused on helping her students express their emotions through music, not just play the notes correctly. Her youngest student was 8-year-old Maria Santos, who was very shy and had trouble making friends at school. "I want you to play this scale," Amy told Maria during one lesson, "but I want you to think about how it feels to be shy. Don't worry about playing it perfectly, just think about the feeling." Maria played the scale very quietly with hesitant, gentle notes. It sounded exactly like shyness felt. "That was perfect," Amy said. "I'll play it again, but this time think about how you feel when you're with your family, when you feel safe and loved." This time Maria played the same scale with more confidence. The notes were warmer and fuller.
"How?
"Do you hear the difference?" Amy asked. Maria nodded, her eyes wide with understanding. "The notes were the same, but they sounded different because I was feeling different things." "Exactly. Music is not just about your fingers, it's about your heart." Over the months, Amy watched Maria become more confident, not just in music, but in other parts of her life too. Learning to express her feelings through violin had helped Maria find her voice in general, Amy's own. Musical abilities had continued to grow under Lisa's guidance. She had learned to play many different styles of music, always focusing on emotional honesty rather than just technical skill. One Saturday, Lisa had a special surprise for Amy. "I've been working on something," Lisa said, pulling out some sheet music. I've arranged another song the way I arranged Waterloo. This one was Peter's second favorite song. The song was The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Lisa had transformed it from a folk song into something that sounded like a conversation between two people who missed each other. Would you like to learn it? Lisa asked. Amy studied the music. She could see how Lisa had changed the rhythm and added new harmonies to make the song more personal. I'd love to, Amy said, but I want to add my own part too. Could we make it a duet? Lisa smiled. I think Peter would have liked that idea. They spent the next several weeks working on the arrangement together. Amy wrote a second violin part that wove in and out of Lisa's melody. Sometimes the two violins played together in harmony, and sometimes they seemed to be having a musical conversation. When they finally performed the duet at the hospital for some of the staff members, there was not a dry eye in the room. It sounds like two people talking to each other across time, said Dr. Roberts, one of the doctors who had become a regular supporter of the music therapy program. As Amy's senior year continued, she had to make decisions about college and her future. Many music schools had offered her scholarships based on her technical abilities. But Amy wanted something different. She applied to a university that had a special program, combining music performance with music therapy training. Her application essay was about learning that music was not just entertainment, but a way to heal and connect with other people. The application also required her to submit a recording of her playing. Instead of choosing a difficult classical piece to show off her technical skills, Amy submitted a recording of herself and Lisa playing their duet of The Sound of Silence. 3 months later, Amy received her acceptance letter. She had been admitted to the program with a full scholarship. They said my essay and recording showed a maturity and understanding of music that went beyond my years, Amy told Lisa excitedly. I'm so proud of you, Lisa said. But I'm going to miss our Saturday lessons. Actually, Amy said with a grin, I was hoping you might consider something. University is only 2 hours away. What if we continued working together? You could guest lecture in some of my classes. Or we could collaborate on research about music therapy. Lisa looked surprised and pleased. I would love that. As Amy's high school graduation approached, she was asked to give a speech as the student speaker. She decided to talk about the power of music to change lives. 2 years ago, I thought music was about playing the right notes at the right time, Amy told her graduating class. But I learned that real music is about sharing your heart with other people. When we are honest about our feelings, whether through music or words or actions, we create connections that can heal the world. After the graduation ceremony, Amy stood with her family, Lisa, Mrs. Davis, and Jake, looking at her diploma. What's next? Jake asked. Amy looked around at all the people who had helped her grow as a musician and as a person. I'm going to keep learning, keep growing, and keep using music to help people heal. But most importantly, I'm going to teach other young musicians that music is not just about performance. It's about love. That evening, Amy and Lisa gave one final performance together at the community center. They played their arrangement of Waterloo and their duet of The Sound of Silence. But this time, they invited audience members to share their own stories about how music had touched their lives. An old man talked about the song his late wife used to hum while she cooked. A young mother shared how lullabies helped her calm her colicky baby. A teenager explained how playing drums helped him deal with his anger. As Amy listened to these stories, she realized that everyone had their own Waterloo moment, a time when music had helped them through something difficult. The violin performance that had started her journey was just one example of music's power to heal and transform. The last person to speak was Carlos Martinez, scholarship recipient who would be starting high school in the fall. Miss Amy and Miss Amy. Miss Lisa taught me that music is not about being perfect, Carlos said. It's about being real. Now, when I play guitar now, I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm trying to help people feel less alone. Amy smiled as she realized that the circle was complete. She had found her own voice through music, and now she was helping others find theirs. The melody that had started with Lisa's grief had become a song of hope that would continue to spread, one musician at a time.